yeah, there was the press conference, of course, last week for Oleksandr Usyk's rematch with Tyson Fury on December 21st in Riyadh. Fury was apparently flying straight out to training camp in sunny climes, according to Frank Warren, straight after the press conference. A number of things came up at the press conference, one of which was the tragedy suffered by Tyson Fury and his wife, Paris, in the loss of her child, or the pregnancy that she had 2 days before the first Usyk fight, apparently, which, although Tyson insisted he wasn't using it as an excuse, must have weighed heavily on the Gypsy King's mind going into that contest. And we extend our condolences, of course, to Tyson and Paris. But not only that, we also heard from Tyson. He made a big thing of the fact that he's the king, the Gypsy King of rematches. Every rematch he's had, he stopped his opponent in the second fight. And that is true. You can look at the record. And Frank Warren believes that will play into matters on December 21st. Just to recap, John McDermott, highly controversial points win first time out, stopped him, I believe, in a sweltering, was it York Hall in the rematch? Or Brentwood Centre? One of the fights was in Brentwood Centre, one was in York Hall, but I can't remember which one was the rematch. Deontay Wilder obviously drew the first fight, came out with a completely new approach, forward-thinking approach in the second one, and destroyed Wilder. Derek Chisora, relatively competitive British title fight. I believe it was on Channel 5, first time out. That Fury did win, but then completely dominated Chisora, forcing a corner retirement in the rematch at that infamous show at the XL Arena, which went on into the small hours and caused loads of people not to get home until, well, it was time to go to work the next day, pretty much. But Eamon, you were at the press conference last week. What did you make of, the impression you got from both fighters and also Fury's claims about being the king of rematches?
I don't really think it's a thing as much as these sort of statistics are probably more used in other sports like football. The ideas of you fought this opponent and you beat him the second time round. Can you really apply that to the next fight against Oleksandr Usyk? Sure, the statistics are reached. It was a bit of fun to play with. It's a bit of conjecture to toss around to your panelists on a pre-fight show as you're waiting for Fury versus Usyk. Or Usyk versus Fury on the night there, but it doesn't. I don't really think it's much of a thing, to be honest with you. Just as much as you can say Fury's rematch king, you can also throw out that, well, Usyk's undisputed. He's never been beat. So what do you do really with it? I don't take too much out of that. Although what I will say on that, from a Fury point of view, is that he's been able to, in those rematches, and most famously in the first fight with Deontay Wilder, when he was flat on his back and looking at the lights, he got up off the canvas and he turned a fight where he was boxing beautifully into one that he went forward and thought, F this, I'm going to go and get this guy. And that became his game plan for the second and third fight. And then he executed those so beautifully. And then with the first fight with Oleksandr Usyk, there was success for Tyson Fury in that fight, both pre that ninth round, and then even after the ninth round, there were spots of success as well too. It wasn't a complete blowout there. It was a close fight for me, from the way I remember it anyways. And if you look at the scorecards as well too for those judges, you maybe think that there are a few tweaks that you need to be making the game, not wholesale changes to get the victory the second time round over Usyk. In terms of the form at the press conference, it was a little bit, it left a little bit to be desired, to be fair. I did think in the first instance, and whilst you're working, you don't get to see too much, and I was trying to get to some uploading during the time, so I actually missed seeing the press conference with my own eyes. I was watching it on my phone at the time. But I was sort of surprised by the idea of Oleksandr Usyk bringing a photo for Fury to sign, and it was the photo of a punch. And then after the fact, then realizing what it was a for Usyk to then sell those off to charity. And having not known that, I would have thought maybe that might have been a get you moment to see
Mind games,
yeah, to see how Fury would have reacted. And Fury, a man of the people, just signed it and didn't think anything of it. It was cool to see Usyk in the form of Agent 47 Hitman. I'm a gamer myself. I'm not really a fan of the stealth games. I find them a little bit too boring, but he has had the whole get-ups before. He's dressed up as the Joker, and Fury's most famously dressed up as Batman. Maybe that was a mind game there in the past, but I can't quite suss what the Hitman was.
Wasn't
maybe
Huey the Joker as well?
But Fury was the Joker. Oh, Huey. I can't remember if Huey was
When he dived over the thing and tackled him at
Was
that
that
press
Fury?
conference.
Yeah, it
I
might
think
have
it
been.
was
Yeah,
Fury, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, maybe he's sending a message that the hitman always gets in, does the job, and gets out. That's the MO of Agent 47. But Tyson as well too. Look, ever resilient. He turned up in a suit that was made up of his own middle fingers. So middle finger straight up to Oleksandr Usyk and the
Not
rest of them.
literally. It's not like a
Yeah.
Lady Gaga situation.
Yeah. So yeah, there was nothing really to take too much. To be fair, people in the industry were sort of like whispering as to how Fury might approach his press conference. Would we get the same rambunctious Fury with all the mottos and cliches and all the sayings? And could he really do that off the back of how the first fight went, or maybe the ninth round went? Maybe, maybe not. He chose to not. He chose to just kind of get the press conference done and be done with it. But he was personable. He was affable, man of the people as he usually was. Gave me at least a minute or so of his time, as well as the rest of the media too. So nothing really to be drawn as to motivations, as to conversations surrounding the fight. Can't really take too much about it, but looking forward nonetheless to, apart from, actually, I say that, apart from talk of the corner team, and Sugar Hill was there, Andy Lee was there, didn't see John Fury there. Now, I will measure that out on the other side and say, like, Tommy Fury wasn't there either, nor was Paris, and they're often there at the press conferences as well, too. But being that John was part of the corner, it was strange to see that he was absent. I think Andy Lee has recently said in an interview, I saw it with Boxing Scene, he said that there will be one voice in the corner, and that voice will be Sugar Hill's voice. So we'll see how that plays up on the night. But it was peculiar to see John was absent at that press conference.
It's because it's a press conference, not a fight, and we all know John Fury. He's a fighting man. So he'll be there on December 21st, I have no doubt. DB Coupon says, well, Dave Allen said that AJ's mate is also his mate, who he's known since he was a kid. So it's got to be the truth. All right, DB Cooper one. Rod Brown says Wardley versus Wilder is a possibility. Stephen says, DB Cooper, we won't tolerate gossip here, pal. Leave that to the other channels. This is Seconds Out. Thanks, Stephen. You've gone from slagging off our head reporter to defending our honour, all in the space of, what, half an hour? That's the effect that SO Live has on people. Eddie Hills, referring to the tragedy that became the Fury, says, it's a terrible thing to have happened, but can't make it public and then say it's not an excuse. I think you can. I think if you want to share something that deeply personal and terrible, that's a decision you make. But I don't think you then have to claim it as an excuse. I think, you know, if you want to share those feelings, we certainly wouldn't judge Fury for it. DB Coupon says, speaking of other channels, what happened to IFL? Why did they go AWOL for 2 weeks but still film content? What's the industry saying? Fill us in, chaps. I mean, the industry is talking about it, but I'm not going to go into detail about what may or may not have happened. They are still attending the fight week events and so on, and press conferences, and that content is finding a home, whether it's on YouTube or not. So if you've got any more questions about that, I suggest you go and speak to them. Stuart says, Fury fought off the back foot against Usyk last time and barely survived. Usyk will stop him sooner if Fury changes that. Thunder Road says, Daddy, did you see when Eamon got startled and nearly dropped the mic when Anthony Yard yelled lines in the camp during their interview? Eamon, do you want to defend that?
I can't, because it's the complete truth. So, and Vinny was there as well too. And I said to Vinny, "Did he get you afterwards?" And I think Vinny said, "Yeah," but he was able to hold the
Dragging
camera.
Vinny under the bus with you. Brilliant. We get deep Seconds Out.
Vinny, yeah. So Yard is very good to talk to. I really find him an engaging character. I really find it. I listen to each word that Yard says, and he did that thing. He drew me in like Jake the Snake Roberts, and then he hit the lions in the camp, and I was like, wasn't expecting it. He's done that twice now. The first time he was like, "Don't be scared." The second time we were just cool with it, but yeah, it's twice he's got me started with the lions of the camp from out of nowhere, and yes, it definitely startled me a little bit.
He hit you with the verbal DDT. DB Cooper 1 says to Thunder Road, lions in the camp, that was funny. Yard really said that out of nowhere. Al Heyman shit himself. I think that's a bit unfair, DB Cooper 1. I'd like to see you stand up to the verbal DDT, as we've just christened it, from Anthony Yard, AY. IQ Boxing Academy, you haven't confirmed if it is Zav or not. It'd be good to know. I'm assuming it is. Question, how does a Coley get on at heavyweight? Very good question. I'm happy to field this one first. Lawrence Okolie, of course, former 2-weight, if you include Bridgerweight, world champion, is now linked up with Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions, and he will be campaigning at heavyweight going forward. I may have the opportunity to speak to Dr. Lawrence on Zoom tomorrow, so I've been told from Queensberry, so I better not slag him off now. But yeah, I think he's got a good chance of doing well at heavyweight. He's obviously been cramming down to get to the weight at Cruiser and then Bridger previously. I think he'll fill out. He'll be a physically imposing specimen at heavyweight with no weight limit now. I think he's got an awkward style. He's talented and he can certainly punch. And that punch power may be even less compromised now. He hasn't got to make the weight. So I think he could be a difficult opponent. I think the problem they're going to have is attracting heavyweights, or decent heavyweights, name heavyweights, to fight Okolie, because A, it might not be the most pleasing fight on the eye. B, he's very dangerous. And C, he hasn't got a huge commercial value yet. He might get that having beaten or picked off one of those guys. But until then, we don't know. So, yeah, it's going to be hard to find the right opponents for Okolie. But I think given the right route and the right management and promotion, I think he could do well. Hey, what do you think?